Hello, my name's David Ainsworth, and this is my family's pub in the Yorkshire Dales. It's 500 years old with flagged floors, gas lighting, and a wonderful crook barn at the back. Look at that, a perfect Yorkshire pint. I love beer. In fact, I like it so much, we decided to hold a beer festival here in the pub to celebrate the best of Yorkshire's real ales. And it's my task to do the research, visiting small breweries across Yorkshire, meeting the breweries who are passionate about their ales. That should do it. And of course, choosing and tasting the best beers which are good enough for the festival. What a brilliant job. That's my son Robert. He's chauffeuring me about in the Brigadier, a 1933 Bentley, while I do the tasting and testing. In previous programmes, we've been all over Yorkshire, collecting handmade beers produced in the traditional way. Now with the festival in just a few days, it's time to seek out the last of our breweries. I've come to the village of Saltire on the edge of Bradford. The great Sir Titus Salt created a utopian village for his mill workers in 1853. He wanted them to be healthy and to live well. Titus built quality houses, places to wash, a hospital and a church. But rumoured to be a teetotaler, he forbid the sale of beer. I wonder what Titus would have made of head brewer Tony Gartland and his team at Saltire Brewery. They set up just 2 years ago in a building that was once part of Bradford's tram system.
The building was originally a small power station. They used to burn domestic refuse from Shipley and Bradford area and generate electricity.
They ran the trams from household rubbish?
They did.
Isn't that amazing? Well, Tony, this is a really interesting building. The height is fantastic.
We know all about the height of it. We actually painted the roof ourselves. And
it's really contemporary, isn't it?
That's the feel that we try to bring to the beer. Something which is traditional, yet has got a bit of a contemporary twist to it.
Can I come up?
You can. I suppose we were influenced by a lot of what the American microbreweries were doing. You know, I'm not afraid of using all sorts of other ingredients in the beer. We use everything. We use spices, we've used herbs. Particularly popular are fruit sort of flavourings.
Fruit? Has this man gone mad? Turns out he hasn't. It sells well. His fruit beers are still brewed traditionally, and this is still a real ale. Time for some research.
You'll see that you get a good blackberry nose, and then the flavour's quite subtle.
Oh yes, it's definitely there.
It's a nice balance, isn't it?
I really didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, I mean, some people do think that it's going to be purple, you know. I think if it looked like Ribena, it'd be rather off-putting.
Well, there we are. Something different. Tony takes me to the local for one of their more traditional brews and to tell me about his great beer giveaway. So this Meet the Brewer, what's the purpose of it?
Well, the purpose is to go to the sort of pub where there's mixed drinkers who are drinking sort of lager, they might be drinking alco pops, people who we can actually say, why don't you try some real ale? Why don't you try something a little bit different? Try to prise them away from their sort of, you know, their current tipple and show them that there's a different world out there.
Right, it's off to the centre of Leeds. The Bentley doesn't have any sat-nav, so my trusty chauffeur takes me on 10 circuits of something called the Inner Loop. But eventually, by nightfall, we find our way.
Can I get you a free beer?
Have a mouthful. It's like a fruity taste, isn't it?
It's great when somebody discovers the subtle flavours of a real ale. Did you say you drank smooth, like a John Smith smooth?
Yeah, John Smith's exactly.
Yeah.
I don't like that to take of, yeah.
It's very refreshing, isn't it?
Incredibly loyal people, and they just, by default, they will always order that. And if I can get one of them to drink some of our free beer, then I think the evening's been a success.
So he gets a thumbs up?
Oh, definitely.
Excellent. I've spotted somebody who's drinking a martini. Right, will Sarah be shaken or stirred? We'll be back in a minute. Because she hates beer and has never drunk a real ale in her life. Have you always drunk martini?
Yeah, martini.
Let's see what you think of that. That's brewed literally just down the road at Saltire. There's a touch of raspberry in there. But it is nice, isn't it? So do you think next time we might have a go at that?
If it's a pint.
Oh, that's great. I think we might have a convert here. Right, mission accomplished. Yet more people converted to real ale. And that's another brewery booked for the festival. Now, where did I leave Robert with that car? Look at this, another cask for the festival. Everything now arrives in metal casks. But this is how it used to be, and we still get a few. And this is a proper wooden cask, handmade out of local materials. It's 50 years ago you'd have seen nothing else but this. Sadly, there are just 2 coopers left in England making wooden casks by hand. But the good news is that Theakstons in Massam are still keeping the tradition alive. Jonathan Manby is a big, strong lad with a huge talent. Probably not the best idea to try and wind him up. Hi, Jonathan.
Hello, where do you think you're going with that thing?
Well, what I want to know, you're going to all this trouble. What's wrong with that?
Well, it's good if you want to put beans in it.
Jonathan lives and breathes wooden casks, and straight away puts me right that a barrel isn't always a barrel. This is actually the only one that is really called a barrel, isn't it?
That's the true barrel. This is a kilderkin.
Yeah.
And a firkin, which is a 9-gallon. And finally the pin, 4.5 gallon, 36 pints. That's your standard brewery range of cask.
Wow.
There's only one
that is
true
the
barrel.
Yeah.
And that's a barrel. And then the size up from a barrel.
So what's that?
That's a hogshead, 54 gallon. The most common one is the firkin, the 9-gallon.
This one, the 9er?
Yeah, 72 pints. It's just a nice handy size.
Yeah. Tradition says that every single cask that Jonathan creates is branded with his initials and a unique number. The crazy boy thinks it's safe for me to do the next bit.
Straight on, in the middle.
Just there.
Just there, that's it. And just press down hard. You get a lot of smoke.
Oh, look at that.
That's Theakstons branded in.
Can I do
Straight on
another?
to the next one while it's hot.
Oh, that's very satisfying. It's oak, isn't it? It smells
It's
like
all
oak.
oak, is timber what we use. That's it.
Oh.
It's always a very satisfying part of making a cask is this, because you always know that it's ready to go out into trade, and so we can put the beer into it.
That'll never come off.
Right, if you want to go and have a look around, but you can leave that thing outside for a start.
Jonathan's workshop is like a time capsule. Now this is what I call heaven.
There's me bench.
All these amazing tools everywhere. I thought I was just going to watch a craftsman at work, but Jonathan must be really losing his marbles because he's going to let a complete idiot have a go.
If you just put the hoop to the side of your leg and then you just keep working your way around, putting all of the staves in.
Sounds easy.
Oh! Right, just the last stave to go in.
Look at that. I never thought I'd be allowed to do that. Gotta be bad.
So we'll get some hoops onto this cask now. That's it, job done.
You must get satisfaction out of this job, surely, Jonathan, don't you?
Well, there's one way of getting rid of your aggression, isn't there?
Well, I suppose there is.
Right, next stage now, because we've got to make the inside of the cask smooth. So you've just got to remember to keep your wings in.
Oh, I see what you mean.
That's why I say you've got to keep your wings in.
You're right. Just look at the lad go.
Over to you.
Oh. That's it, I'm knackered. I think we could do with a beer, don't you?
Definitely.
Jonathan's promised to come to the beer festival to really show off his skills and let me finish my firkin. Back at Festival HQ, there's just 2 days to go. We need to get ready for the festival. Now, Mark, Robert, you know what to do. This is Landlord, brewed by Timothy Taylor. We would love to have them in the beer festival, but they're too big for us. But this is a great beer, one of Yorkshire's finest. It's their 150th birthday, so we can't miss them out. So I'll let the big cheese Charles Dent show you around. He was lucky enough to marry a Taylor girl, and is now the MD of this fabulous family firm.
I think our people are enormously important. It isn't just the family who own the business, but lots of people who work here are several generations of service with the company. This, I think, is the 100th anniversary dinner. There's my mother-in-law presenting flowers to retiring employees' wives. This is Mrs. Billy Pye, who's the wife of the last cooper here. Alan Hay, head brewer, who did 57 years here. This is the brew house. Every brew starts here at the mash tun. And in this brewery, we mash in with a brewer, not a computer.
The head brewer here is affectionately known as God, and I can see why. What's great to see is that he's using recipes as old as the company itself.
These are the brewing records. Each brew has its own record, and it traces the fermentation and the temperature and so we still stick to our old recipes.
Today, God and his saints are brewing the most iconic of Timothy Taylor's beers.
Landlord was introduced as competition ale. The competition being, if you named a name for the beer that was then used, you got a prize of £500. A lot of money in the 50s. It's the original sort of shape that beer bottles used to be. The other thing you notice, it's a dark bottle. Designers do like light bottles, and they're not good for beer. And the Landlord label is what was designed by Bobs Taylor in 1952, and she was an art student. And we've looked at various designs. We couldn't find anything better. Well, we've got a whole lot of press cuttings here, which we've been using to make the brochure for our 150th.
The beer hit the headlines when Madonna announced on a chat show that the best thing about Britain was a pint of Landlord.
Now, I was in the Shimla Spice in Keighley having a curry, and I was rung up. He said, "Are you near a television, Charles? Can you get to one? Because Madonna's just mentioned English pubs, English ale, and indeed your ale twice." And of course we all fell out of our trousers with surprise, because we don't have an advertising budget. We're a tiny little company and we couldn't have asked for any better than that.
And here's to the next 150 years. Go on, Robert, there's a lot to do. Right, in a moment it's festival time, and we'll announce which of our beers will be crowned Yorkshire's perfect pint. That's if the guy on the fiddle is in a fit state to count the votes.